Good afternoon. It's 4 p.m. and I'd like to call the meeting of the Bay County Board of Commissioners to order. Could you please take the roll?
Fox. Present. Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Here.
Coonan.
Here.
Radke. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Here.
Here. Please stand for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we ask that you grant to this Board of Commissioners and all those in authority the patience and understanding to work together for the good of all people. In your holy name we ask this. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first order of business will be the minutes of 12/14/21. A motion to approve.
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next will be citizen input. If there's anyone in the audience that'd like to come forward and speak, now would be the time. And please state your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Beeson. I'm on Region 7 Division on Aging Board, appointed by you commissioners here. And we're here today to give you some information about our region and to let you know what future project that we are working on right here in Bay County. And it's a housing project for veterans and senior citizens that could be homeless or going to be homeless. And it's a 20-unit complex that we want to build that will be supported by Medicaid and Medicare funds in the future. And it's going to be built right here on Euclid Avenue, right by our complex there, the Region 7 Division on Aging. We have some material here, if I could, to pass out to everybody real quick. We'll try to make it as easy and as fast as we can for you. There you are.
No bananas?
No bananas today. No. If you don't mind, I'm an old hat here. No. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Okay. First of all, I want to thank everybody on the board for allowing me to serve on Region 7. I believe I've been there about 17 years. I've been the treasurer for about 15 years. It's a great organization. We do a lot of things there at Region 7. This year we've done glasses, hearing aids. We do teeth for seniors. Our job is to keep seniors, if we can, in their home because it's cheaper for Medicaid and Medicare. They live longer, they're happier and healthier by living in their own home. So we do a lot of stuff, and we fund some of the programs here at Bay County, Meals on Wheels and repairs and respite care, all different. Most of you all know what we do, and we're glad to do it. This is exciting work because, you know, there's no better service to mankind than one man helping another, one woman or one man, if you know what I mean, doing for someone that's really in need. And so now that you got that, I'm going to have my director come up and he'll tell you about the project and explain where we're going. So here he is. His name is Bob Brown. He's our director for Region 7.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, address the body. So thank you for your time, and let me talk about a really good news story. But first, we are planning our normal visit again. We haven't been able to visit with the commission in the last 2 years, but we were looking forward to scheduling me coming out and giving you an update. I'll be sending you that information, but to suffice it to say, our agency is actually owned by the 10 counties, including Bay County, and the city of Saginaw, going from Huron to 127. we work for you. We will always work for you. We're the best investment I think the county ever makes in everything we do. You give us a stipend to support our program, a few $1,000s a year, and we return millions to those programs that Pat just talked about, millions. So we're not only the social program, we're an economic engine of Bay County, and we also work with your Department on Aging, Beth. So we look forward to continuing those, but we also would like to look forward to the future and the campus of Region 7 on Euclid. We've worked through this pandemic directly with your local health department, your county health department, in delivering vaccines. We started out with flus a couple of years ago, vaccines, and we migrated very quickly. We were set up. So we didn't work in competition, but just like we do with your Department on Aging, we worked hand in hand. Wherever they asked us to go and help deliver, put the jab in the arm, put the vaccine in somebody that wanted it, we did that. We worked with them. But we work with them in several other different ways, and we will continue that. But this campus is not, and this resident hall is just one piece of a bigger puzzle. We are building a campus there of integrated care, concentrating on seniors. So clinic, pharmacy, therapy. To those that can't afford it, don't have insurance. Now, in regards to this, I heard that, buildings today are very expensive. This is expensive. But this is going to help the whole campus, not just this building, and have us deliver hundreds of clients healthcare, that integrated healthcare. They're confused. We help them get through the system. So we're looking at a sliding scale based on income and what they have. So if you look at somebody that's on Medicaid, we're going to try and deliver the service for free. But it's going to be affordable to the person that's going to live there. And we're going to work with them on their income. But more importantly, the relief that we give to other folks. And you're looking at 724 care. So you're looking at not just the economic engine of us spending and doing supplies, but you're also looking at jobs. So we'll be hiring even more people. And by the way, in my 5-year tenure, we've gone from 50 employees to over 120 employees, and we're still growing, servicing this population. Thank you for your time, and if there's any questions, I would love to answer questions because I do better at questions.
We can't answer questions at public input. That's the problem. But,
Okay.
But you can schedule to come in to another meeting and be on petitions and communications if you want to go a little bit further
Well,
into this.
we would love to do the dual thing and do the presentation that we always do for this body.
Okay. Well,
and combine this.
here's the lady you need to speak to.
Yeah.
She will be in charge. So.
Okay.
So speak to her. But thank you for the information you've given us so far. It's a good start.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come and speak? Step forward, please. And state your name, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Harrison. I work with AdvisoCare Home Health and Hospice, and I'm actually here today, again, just delivering information. The work we do, we work with Medicare, Medicaid, veterans, work comp, those have been injured, and also those who have been injured in auto accidents. I'm here today to urge or just draw some awareness to the challenges that we as home health care providers are now facing under the current Auto Insurance Reform Act that was passed in 2019. First and foremost, doing this work, we did see a lot of the fraud that went into the auto insurance world that we as Michiganders lived in, and do not wish to repeal that act in any way, shape, or form. We do believe that rates should be lowered and that we should find relief as drivers in that way. But at the same time, we believe the legislature, not any fault of their own, put a few things in there that might have been overlooked. Specifically referencing, again, hourly home health care. which would include catastrophic 24/7 care for those with brain injuries and spinal cord injuries who don't have another place to go or other care to be received. What's happening currently is billing rates that were provided by home health care agencies such as ourselves that were reasonable at around maybe $30 an hour to take care of someone with a brain injury, spinal cord injury, are now being reduced by 45%, which are getting reimbursements back at now between $14 to $16 an hour. And I'm not a math major. I love the face, Commissioner Fox. That's how I feel every day when I wake up, by the way. But we're having to pay people near $20 an hour just to be competitive and do the work to take care of these individuals. So again, today, I'm not asking for anything other than drawing awareness in the hopes that in the future I could be potentially on the agenda for the board to consider a resolution similar to Oscoda County, Oakland County, and Wayne County, simply urging the state legislature to look closer at this issue. Also, that being said, I have spent time, and we've spent time with the legislature since this past February. Never thought we'd do that, by the way, so you guys are like my 5th Board of Commissioner meeting, so bear with me. I'm certainly not any good at this, but I've talked with Rep. Beeson and Senator Daley on this issue, and they both seem to be listening and understanding, although we are continuing to draw public awareness because it seems like it's an issue. If you don't know somebody that's been directly affected, it may not be one that's on the top of your radar. So I thank everybody for your time and for letting me take a few minutes here today. And I hope within the next several months we can work to correct things with the state legislature. We have been working with Rep. Phil Green, who's been wonderful at drafting a bill with House leadership's direction to potentially get something moving. So I'll be sending some updates as I'm able to potentially get on the agenda and talk more about that bill simply as a county to draw some awareness. Would be fantastic.
Thank you. I know Deanne got your email with that.
Yeah.
And she'll pass that resolution from Oscoda on to the commissioners, before the next meeting, so at least they can look at it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Hi, thank you. My name's Amanda, and I'm from Essexville. Before I say my speech, I just want to let you guys all know ahead of time, I have had COVID myself, and so has my family of 5. So I'm not discrediting that it's a serious thing, because trust me when I say it's rough. There are other options, though, out there that I just want to make my opinion on that clear. I have huge concerns regarding our community, its well-being, and its future. Bay County is failing on many different levels. This is my home. This is where my husband and I chose to raise our family. This is where I grew up. It has so much potential with so many wonderful people. Our community's children are hurting emotionally. They are screaming for help. Our community's children are missing school from the demand in our public school systems for healthy children to be quarantined, which is not only detrimental to their emotional health, but to their future as a whole. Stunting a child's educational development can take years to correct, all while creating psychological damage. Our children have zero stability anymore, which is of huge importance to their development. Wearing masks has created widespread issues with development, health, and anxiety amongst our most vulnerable. We have people moving out of the community, pulling kids out to be homeschooled, families losing their jobs and careers to become full-time teachers, and this community is losing its faith and trust in its representation, which is an extremely dangerous, slippery slope. I have seen a ton of push to become vaccinated from our health department. Let me just say, all push, mandates, discrimination, and division between the vaxxed and unvaxxed has to stop. With our new health recommendations and guidelines, which I know today is changing again from what I hear, our COVID positive have more rights than our unvaccinated. This is absurd. Where there is risk, there must also be choice. Keep in mind, when following guidance from health officials, one must be certain that any protocols they are creating avoid offending the Constitution. This vaccine is unlike any other we have ever seen before. Why have we not seen any push from our health department about health? For example, ways to help the immune system, proper diet, exercise, nutrition, etc. This is something that should be of utmost importance, especially during a time when we need our immune systems functioning at their best. Whether we believe in the vaccine or not, we do know that even if you get it, you can still get and spread COVID. The community feels like there is an agenda being pushed rather than our well-being and health being a priority. I know that you have the power to make a huge difference in this community. I recently learned from attending another court case in Michigan just how much power our commissioners truly hold. Michigan is number 6 in the top states with people leaving the state. Michigan colleges, universities have dwindling student enrollment rates. I attended a board meeting for Bay City Public Schools where they discussed having to get rid of some of their schools and staff because of lack of students. We have school bus routes being canceled due to lack of bus drivers. The number of people becoming fed up is growing. Please help us to rectify things before it's too late. This isn't just a county, this is our county. We shouldn't need to flee to find a place to live with representatives that stand up for their people. We are Michiganders, Americans, and children of God. Our country was founded as a Christian nation and is protected by the Constitution. Fear does not and cannot discredit the fact that we have rights. The government does not have the right to regulate we the people under the guise of keeping us safe or to protect us from one another when it comes to our health and welfare. No matter how big or small, young or old, rights that have been given to us by God cannot be taken away from us by man. This is our home and we need your help. And I just want to end this with a quote for all that may be listening everywhere. If you are silent about your beliefs because you are worried someone will be offended, then your beliefs are not that important to you, but rather what people think about you is. What people see about you will speak more loudly than how people feel about you, because in the end, when we stand up for what is right and true, we will have many who hate us or love us, but all will know what we are fighting for. T.B. LaBerge, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? State your name, please, ma'am.
It's Carol Hill.
Thank you.
This is still pretty raw with me, so it's kind of difficult for me to talk about. I had COVID. I think I got it from my mother. She was in assisted living. For me, COVID wasn't too bad because I could use what the frontline doctors were given. And it was sold over the counter. So Cosartan, which is basically HCQ, which is short for hydroxychloroquine. Because the frontline doctors, you can get ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and some other medications. They have never lost a single life with the medications that they give. But yet the media says that it's too dangerous to give. And they've never lost a life. That's what I took. That's what my 90-year-old, or not my pastor's 90-year-old aunt took. And she's perfectly fine now. But yet the doctors say no, you can't take that. It's not allowed. Instead, the meds that they give are killing people, forcing people to go on vents. Very rarely does anybody ever come off a vent. And my mom got it. You know what she was given? Robitussin. That's it. I was too sick to be able to go down to Detroit to give her the ivermectin because pharmacists have decided, no, you can't have that. A pharmacist, even though it was prescribed by one of the frontline doctors, refused her life-saving medications. By the time I was finally negative and could get out there to get her what she needed, it was too late. The damage was done. Her lungs were too scarred. She had blood clots this long in her legs. I was there for 2 days, and that's when the ambulances came to get her because she couldn't breathe. They took her to the hospital. They wouldn't let me in with her in the ambulance, in the ER. So I had to wait 16 hours before I get a call from the hospital, from the ER, to finally tell me what's going on with her, which I already knew because my background is emergency medicine and flight medicine. My sister is a retiree, my mom is a retiree from Baymed. So we knew what was going on. And we knew she was being admitted to the unit. Well, we still were not allowed to see her in the unit, as we knew my mom was going to die, because when you're that ill and you just got, she tested negative for COVID, they sent it to the state even, came back negative for COVID, because she had been sick for so long, she came back negative finally. So they said she had COVID pneumonia, because you know you got to have COVID in there so that they can make money off it, because her lungs were so scarred from COVID, but we don't know because we weren't allowed in. They put her up in the unit, and they still were not really doing anything for her, just comfort meds, basically. Well, there's nothing we can do. We'll give her heparin, IV heparin, but the clots are too big. We're going to keep her in the unit. Place was a death camp, basically. So finally, they said, she can't breathe. We're going to have to put her on a vent. I said, no. My mom said no vent. Because you go on a vent with COVID, you don't come home. You die. Very few people ever come home once they're put on a vent with COVID. So when I told my sister this, I said, Mom said no vent. She flipped out. So we finally got to go in to see Mom, because I said, well, I can't sign the paperwork for no vent until my sister hears it from my mom. That's how we finally got to go in to see my mom after several days. Now, we get to go in, Mom says no vent. Okay, no vent. I had to sign paperwork saying no vent. So now we said, okay, we get a hold of my aunt who has been doing hospice for 20 years, and it's the best hospice in the state, rated #1, award after award after award. We get it all set up. We can get Mom back to what she calls her apartment at Bay City Comfort Care. Everything's set up. We got the oxygen. We got everything there so that she can at least die with her loved ones there. Now Baymed and doctors are going to play games. Why? Money. No, no. We want her to stay here for our hospice. Now they are harassing us, playing games. For 24 hours they played games until Mom was too sick to even make the ambulance ride home. Harassing us. This is what people are doing in these hospitals. Mom never made it home. She ended up dying that day. Okay, I've dealt with a lot of death in my life. When it's your mom, it's very difficult. Okay, Mom was vaccinated, by the way. I've had a lot of friends die from COVID. All but 2 were vaccinated. I've had a lot of friends get COVID, but they used the frontline doctor's protocol, and they're all fine. They're all back to work. They're all loving their family. They celebrated the holidays. The ones that did not have the frontline doctor's protocol, they're dead. This is what's going on, okay? People are listening to the media and Joel, and they can't get the medications that they need. It's got to stop. I'm sorry, I'm about done. I just want you to know, this is what's going on with your constituents.
We need to wrap this up a little bit, please. I'm so sorry for your loss.
But you guys need to know there's life-saving drugs out there, and Joel and them will not give it to us. That's where my story is going with this. There's life-saving drugs. Your constituents are losing because they can't get those drugs. Tell Joel that.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Bert Probst, live at 610 Brent Street. I'm sorry about that. Wow, that's terrible. The subject I'm going to talk about is completely different. It's about this building, the exterior of this building, the limestone on the building. It's filthy. It's filthy. It was built in 1934. It's an Art Deco building. I mean, to be honest with you, it's the first time I've ever been in these chambers, and I'm looking at the ceiling and all of the paneling. It's beautiful. I mean, really, it's a work of art. But unfortunately, the outside of the building is made out of limestone and granite. And limestone is a beautiful material, but it's porous. And over 87 years, it's all the contaminants in the air, acid rain, blah, blah, blah. It gets dirty. And it's really dirty. But it needs to be cleaned. And I have two daughters in Chicago. I was telling Jim, I said, you know, they clean their buildings all the time. And they look fantastic. Of course, they got a lot of money in Chicago, too. But limestone, if you were to look at the outside right now, you would never believe what it really looks like cleaned up. It's white. It's beautiful. Right now, it's a brown to black. But anyways, the other thing is, I understand the windows were replaced in the 80s, I'm not sure. Something like that. But back then, I know you're talking what, 40 years? Well, those windows, the caulking is probably shot. So we're losing on heat, air conditioning, and not to mention water. But if they bring the scaffolding over the edge, and they either use a power washer, steam cleaning, sandblasting, or whatever, and they clean the surface, they could also inspect all the windows, and they can caulk the windows. And they make caulk that's good for 40 and 50 years. And it comes in black, so you'd never notice it. But once it's clean, then it needs to be sealed. And the sealer that they put on it, it's a commercial type, but it has to breathe. Stone has to breathe. If it doesn't, it turns yellow and brown. So they could clean the building, seal the building, inspect all of the windows, and caulk all the windows, and you're good for another 50 years, and we'll all be gone. But I think it's something that the people of Bay County they take pride in this building. I mean, when you ask the average person in their mind what they think of as Bay County, this building. They think of this building. And you have a highway out here that people from all over see it. And I'm sure every time they're at a stoplight, they look up. And it's not a good sight. So anyways, I'm just putting that out. I think that if we could clean the building, I think everybody in Bay County would love it. They would not realize the color. It's white versus brown and black. But anyways, the last thing is we have the money now. And are we going to have this money again in the future? Slim to none. And this is the time to do it. I mean, you can get bids for free. And that's where I'm going to leave it right there. I would hope that somebody could make a motion to have somebody look into this and possibly get some bids. And if it's terribly expensive, well, that's just the way it is. But like they say on TV, it's free, you know? So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll move on to petitions and communications. And first we'll hear from Great Lake Great Lakes Bay, Michigan Works Labor Force update from Mr. Chris Rishko.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners, County Executive Barsha, County staff. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I actually presented this same information to the Bay City Council, and they asked me to bring it in front of you as well. I'm not asking for anything other than to provide you with information, so that might be a change of venue from normal for you. But so today I'm just going to talk a little bit. You have your slides in front of you. I'm going to talk just what Michigan Works is, a quick overview for those of you who aren't familiar with us, as well as giving an update on where Bay County is going now in the future. So first of all, Michigan Works, we're an employer-focused, demand-driven agency. We're structured to meet the specific demands of our region. We are overseen by a board that's created from business and elected officials from our region. And we're actually part of a statewide system of 16 similar agencies from covering all 83 counties in Michigan. Our mission is to provide high-quality customer service connecting employers with our labor force. Our staff works directly with employers to help them realize the talent they need, and then our frontline workers work with job seekers to prepare them to meet the job market and the needs of those regional employers. So that's what we are as Michigan Works. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about Bay County. I'm going to talk about where our population is, where it has been and where it's going, as well as some of our indicators, and as well as the industries in the county and our region, where they're going. And I'm going to leave you with some talking points, some takeaways from the presentation. Glossary, I'm going to talk about some terms, and I really want to make sure that I hit these before we go. That way everything makes a little more sense. I'm going to talk about unemployment rate. That's basically the percentage of folks who are actively looking for work out of our labor force. I'm going to talk about our labor force participation rate. Those of our population that are actually engaged in the workforce, whether that's looking for work or working. Total employment, that's everybody actively working. Prime working age, that's a key demographic, 25 to 64. And then also I'm going to talk about those not in the labor force, and that's going to be a key point moving forward. Those not in the labor force are basically those who were not employed during a reference week and those who were not actively looking for work. I guarantee that's not me doing that. And then finally, I'm going to talk about ALICE. That's an acronym, stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. It's a key indicator, basically those folks who are working hard, but yet not necessarily making enough to survive. So whenever I talk about population, I talk about a population for a specific area, and then I also talk about the population that contributes to that area. In Bay County, that's the middle of the graphic in yellow. That's actually what we're talking about, but all those areas in red around Bay County, that's where your workforce is actually commuting from. So you have a lot that work here in Bay County, but you also have a lot that commute in from the surrounding counties. So it's very important to know what their population, their demographics look like when you're looking at when you're trying to do an analysis of your own specific workforce. So now I'm going to take a step back. Population change. Where have we gone in the last 10 years? This is a graphic that was produced by the U.S. Census Bureau. And everything in that picture that's green means that over the last 10 years you've gained population. Every county that's not green or beige is actually those counties that lost population. As you can see, our entire region, specifically our entire half of the state, has lost population over the last 10 years. So that's really important for us to know where we've been, and that way it also ties into where we're moving. Breaking this down a little further, so as you know, Michigan's broken into 10 prosperity regions. Our prosperity region that we belong to is East Central Michigan region, and those prosperity regions really tie into worker flows and supply chain. And as you can see, East Central Michigan per capita has the largest loss of any prosperity region in the entire state, which is really saying a lot, and it's something to be, definitely take note of moving forward. Breaking it down even further, getting a little bit closer, the Great Lakes Bay region, so this is the 5 counties that I represent. We lost about 4.3% of our population in the last 10 years. Bay County lost 3.6, so not quite, you're still doing better than the regional average. Midland actually has the lowest, they're fairly flat over the last 10 years. Isabella County lost 8.4%. That's kind of a misnomer in the fact that a lot of those students who would normally be captured during the census in April were all home, so they weren't captured. So from a comparison of 2010, 2020, it looks artificially like a larger change. Not necessarily true, but at least it shows us just how much the impact of those students are to the population of that county. So that's why I wanted to highlight that. So that's where we are. In the last 10 years, our region, our county, and those surrounding counties have not done so well. State of Michigan, actually, we were we were about flat. We had about 2% overall gain. So the state is gaining people. That's good. Unfortunately, they're not staying in our region. Moving forward, so using a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me, basically Michigan labor market information down in Lansing, they're forecasting that Bay County over the next 25 years is actually expected to lose quite a few people. So the population, which I'm going to talk about, they're not staying. Our baby boomers did not have enough babies, for lack of a better way to say it, and that's going to really translate into a lower population here in the next 25 years. As I talked about those surrounding counties, so the ones where that labor force feeds into Bay County, they're also losing population over the next 25 years. Big takeaway from this chart, each one of these bars is a composite of all 5 counties' population. As you can see, they're getting smaller over the next 25 years. The only county in our region that's not is actually Midland County. That's basically staying the same. It's about a 0.2% overall growth, so it is growing, but just not very much. So now we've talked about the population shift. It's getting smaller, but it's also getting older. Specifically, that silver tsunami, I know Ryan Tarrant from the chamber, he talks about the silver tsunami a lot. Basically, the percentage of our population is actually getting older, and so there's going to be less people working. This graphic actually shows the column to the right, or the green one, that's those folks who are basically too young for the workforce. The blue middle one are those who are at that prime working age, and then the yellow to the right is actually, that's those who are typically outside of the workforce, 65 and above. As you can see, overall, the trend is to get smaller, but there's a higher percentage of that population is older outside of the workforce. It peaks in 2035, and then it actually equalizes moving forward. That 2035 peak, that is that silver tsunami. That's kind of the last representation of the baby boomers before they start leaving our population. I hate to say it like that. I wish I had a more elegant way of putting that across. That's basically what's happening to our population. So in Bay County, basically our population is shrinking and it's getting older, so there's going to be less people in our workforce. Our surrounding counties are showing the same labor shift as Bay County is. They don't quite have the higher the age ratio of that outside the work, that 65 and above, but overall the population is getting smaller. So that's really key to identify is the fact that moving forward, our employers need talent, and that talent we're going to have to figure new and innovative ways to find it, because it's not going to be there using our traditional methods. So we talked about where our population is, so that's our raw materials for when we talk about a labor force. Then we talk about the next metric that we like to reference is the labor force participation rate. So what that is the overall percentage of the population that's actively working. So that's 16 above that is actually engaged in the labor force or trying to get into it. There are 3 lines on this chart. The top line are males over the age of 16. The middle line is a composite for all, basically total workers. And then the bottom line are females over the age of 16. So as you can see, we've actually showed a slight decrease from the beginning of this chart. Now this chart starts after the last recession in 2010. We show a slight decrease, but fairly level in the labor force participation rate. That decrease is directly related to retirements, an older workforce. As the baby boomers started to get out of the workforce, that's what was demonstrated by that decrease. So that's expected. COVID is that December 2019, that bar, that's where we had a sharp drop in labor force participation. It equalized after COVID fairly quickly, but it has not yet reached pre-COVID levels. The University of Michigan did a report. They expect that return to pre-COVID somewhere around 2023, so the first quarter. So we're still not out of the woods yet. We did a survey of our participants. We surveyed about 1,000 individuals, and we found out that the biggest reason that folks have stepped away from the labor force, concerns about COVID, lack of dependent care, and a lot of them, when they were laid off during that bar in 2020, they realized that they could live on less income, so they're waiting for something better. And so that's the main drivers that we've actually seen from our data. We're actually working with the state to do a statewide survey in a similar sense so we can get a better idea of why folks still haven't come back into the labor force. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Not only is our population getting smaller, but it's forecasted to have fewer people actually engaged in the labor force, which means that we need to try new and exciting ways to get folks engaged in working in our region. So this is an eye chart. What this is really meant to do is be a one-stop shop, kind of a dashboard of how things are going. The indicators across the top dark blue line, these are some of the globally, universally identified metrics that really go into how a workforce is going. So as we talked about population across our region that went down, labor force participation rate. Some counties have shown an increase. This was all pre-COVID. The closest demographic, the closest data that I have is from 2019, which is displayed here. That data in the previous slide were actually current, but that's on a nationwide level. So there shouldn't be any reason why those trends haven't remained constant throughout. Total employment, the big key for this column is that in Bay County, Saginaw County, and our region as a whole, we have not met the number of jobs that was pre-COVID. So basically a year ago, we're still losing jobs. Although unemployment rate is good, which is those people who are actively looking for work, that is low to very close to pre-COVID numbers. The number of jobs out there that who are actively employed has not reached pre-COVID yet. So that's kind of what that column indicates. And then another, I guess, a good indicator is average annual wage. So over since pre-COVID, our annual wage for our region has gone up by 11%, which is an incredibly fast rate. That is because there was a low talent pool before COVID. A lot of people left. Employers still needed to produce their product. Their demand is still high. And so wages have gone up extremely, extremely fast. And those are probably still rising as we speak. And so that's a good thing. That means wages are increasing. Typically, whenever you see low unemployment, wages will start to rise shortly after, and then they'll rise to a point where employers can't keep affording to pay people, and then it kind of levels out, and your employment goes up. So it's a cycle. And unfortunately, COVID kind of screwed all that up, and we expect that to equalize itself here in a year or two. But as it is right now, we've actually shown a significant increase in wages, and that's what it's taking to get people back in the labor force. That's one method. Finally, I wanted to point out the household above ALICE, so those folks who are working but not necessarily making enough. In Bay County, it's 65%, so that means 65% of population is above that threshold. That's good. In other counties in our region, for example, Isabella County, it's actually almost 1-to-1. So for every person who doesn't make enough to exist, we have one who does. And so that's a very concerning metric. Bay County is actually above the state as a whole, which is good. That means the wages are good, the jobs are good. We just don't have enough people to fill them. And then finally, the percent of the population that doesn't have a high school credential. You want that to be low. As you all know, training is the key to employment. You have the training that provides the base, the foundation for a good career. And so the lower that number is, the better. Bay County and Gratiot County has actually shown an increase over year. That percentage has increased, so that is good. Some of our counties are static, if not going down a little bit. That is bad. The state of Michigan as a whole is 8.2%, which is actually higher, which is higher than Bay County. So Bay County's doing something right. It's just we need to get everybody, as much as we can. So those are some of the key indicators as a whole. You'd want no red on this chart. We do have some, but it's really indicating of a combination of COVID as well as our population going down. So from a talent perspective, promise that's not me. Bay County unemployment rate is 5%. You're actually lower than the state as a whole, which is good. The population, unfortunately, is going down over the next 25 years. That percentage of the population that is actually working is going down. It's actually decreased about 27%. And then our population is getting slightly older at about 272 over the next 25 years. So fairly steady, but there is a slight increase. Now, the surrounding counties, the unemployment's much higher, so that means that there should be more people to pull from outside of Bay County. Still not reached pre-COVID levels, but still much better than they were in May of 2020, where we were almost at 20% unemployment. So that's basically 1 in 5 people were looking for work that weren't working. The population change for our region is not looking good. Basically, we're going to lose about 52,000 people over the next 25 years in population. Not a good, definitely not a good thing. Our working population is also getting smaller, and then the population is getting, it's getting older, just not, it's just not going down as high as the rate as the rest of the surrounding counties. So that's talent. Talent is we don't have enough people. There's the bottom line for where we are now, and it's going to look that way if we don't do something different in the next 25 years. So I'm going to shift a little bit to industry, where our industries are. This is a kind of an eye chart, and the big thing to take away is there are three main items that are shown on this graphic. Everything that is above that center line demonstrates, that center line is the average wage. So everything above that line is better than the average wage for the state. Everything below is below the average wage. And then the vertical line, that represents growth. So everything on the right of that is growing. Everything to the left is shrinking as far as industry employees. And the size of the bubble is actually the number of employees. So the bigger the bubble, the bigger the industry has in our region. So in the last 10 years, we have seen some growth in Bay County. It's in the higher wage areas. But for the most part, we've seen a little bit of decrease, and that's because the population went down. Population goes down, so do the employees in the filled jobs in the region. Forecasted, we're actually showing, so that vertical line is all the way to the right of the graph. And basically the only industry that we're forecasting growth in is the health services industry. And that's related directly to our aging workforce. The older folks get, the more medical services they require, so that industry grows. Everything else is shifting, and that shift is directly related to just a lower population. I can say one of the good things is that average wage. A lot of the jobs in the region are much closer, if not above that average wage, so that's good. That's definitely good for our workforce. Our surrounding counties are very much are forecasted to see the same trend. The industry shift is going to really go towards an increase in the health sector's industry, and then everything else is going to decrease with the population. As you can see, that industry spread is much wider than it is for Bay County, just because we're talking about a larger population and more county-specific industries like the manufacturing or the services industry, stuff like that. So again, not as wide for the wage, the annual average wage. The spread is much wider than it is for Bay County, which is actually indicative of the fact that the wages here, in Bay County are good and will be competitive from a regional standpoint. So that's actually a positive note. So industry summary, just to summarize all of that, overall contraction in employment, that's directly correlated to population. Growth is going to shift to the health services just because of, again, the aging population, and the wages are increasing in relation to the state averages throughout the state. I'm sorry about the blinking, I don't know what's doing that. So finally, to bring away some big talking points, the biggest needs of employers, and this goes across the board, it doesn't matter what the industry is talent. There are just not enough people. Right now in Bay County, and this is hot off the press this morning, in Bay County alone there are 3,392 active job advertisements in Bay County alone. Almost 2,000 of them are full-time work jobs. There's a lot of work out there. In our region, the Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works region, there are 12,000 active job advertisements out there right now. That's a huge number of opportunity for employers, and that's what we're really, or for employees, that's what we're really trying to advertise to our participants. Population forecast is our population for our region is going to be getting smaller and older. Therefore, attraction and retention is crucial, making the most of the people that are there now and working to attract people into our region. And basically, our bottom line is long-term planning can't just be one particular area. Historically, we would be able to focus on one area, and that would kind of fill it. This has to be multifaceted. From a Michigan Works standpoint, we're focusing on those students as early as middle school, trying to get them interested in careers here in our region so they stay. The Great Lakes Bay region has 60,000 students right now. A lot of them don't stay, and we need to change that. Also, it's attracting new people into the workforce, who potentially those people who aren't necessarily looking for work, getting them into the workforce, and then also trying to bring people into the region who may not have started here. But Those are the big takeaways. I hope that this was informative, and this is really just meant to help move forward and provide you with the data to make a good decision.
Any questions from anyone? It looks like everybody absorbed it all.
It was a lot of data, I apologize.
Commissioner Fox?
Chris, you made the comment earlier that you said if we don't do something different, we need to do something different. What does that different look like to you?
From Michigan Works perspective, that different is focusing on students. We had historically stayed away from those who are under the age of 25. We are focusing a lot more of our effort on those younger students now, because if we don't, that is going to translate into a shortfall later. From a legislative perspective, out in a county region, it's going to be attraction, in my opinion, is really working to do stuff to get people to want to come here. Bay County is a great place to live. However, by itself, it can't compete with the Ann Arbors and the Grand Rapids. However, the Great Lakes Bay region is a great place to live that can potentially compete with those larger areas. So that's kind of the mindset too, changing things. We can't look at ourselves as an individual entity, we have to look at ourselves as a region. And that's probably the biggest takeaway for this audience.
Thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment, and thank you, Chris, for the presentation. Something I've been concerned about for quite a while is the out-migration of our younger, talented, aspiring workforce to Kent County or even out of state. So I think it's one of the biggest challenges the county faces is trying to mitigate population loss, because when you lose people, you lose the $9,500 per student grant goes to support our school systems and districts in Bay County. You lose road funding, which is key factor in Public Act 51 on the distribution of federal and state gasoline taxes is population. And of course, federal and state revenue sharing is critical, and that's all passed out on a formula that recognizes those units of government have the greatest population. So it's a real challenge, and we all have to, I think, work together to try to move forward as a region and as Bay County to, attract and retain as many younger, workforce participants as we can. And as you say, we have a lot to offer here. We have a lot of great things going for us, but we're an older county, and we're continuing to see the trend that the rest of the rural counties in Michigan are, just a continual erosion of our population. So,
Anyone else?
My contact information is right there, as well as Commissioner Herrick, Commissioner Begic, and Commissioner Fox are on my board, and they definitely know how to get a hold of me. So,
Thank you. Need a motion to receive, please.
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Rishko. Next up is the ARPA funding presentation from Bay Future. Mr. Keys.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrick. Commissioners, my name is Trevor Keys. I'm the President and CEO of Bay Future. We are the countywide economic development organization that's responsible for business retention and business growth here in Bay County, as well as trying to bring additional people in, specifically workforce, and working with our partners like Chris and his team at Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. One of the things that we'd like to discuss with you today is kind of a culmination of a lot of collaboration and discussion with the county commissioner kind of panel that was put together as it relates to ARPA funding, as well as the county administration and staff relating to a proposal that we're hoping can help to rectify some of the things that you just recently heard from Chris, specifically population loss and job loss and the like. I brought some friends with me here today, and they're going to speak a little bit more in detail. There's kind of three components to this proposal. I'm going to speak to the first one and then introduce each one of them and have them come up and speak a little bit to that as well. If you have questions, happy to answer those. The first that I'd like to talk about is a small business grant. The second one that Beth Rosaticky from the Small Business Development Center is going to speak to is a small business support program. And then the third kind of initiative, if you will, that'll be spoken, or that Ryan Tarrant from the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce will reference, as well as Phil Like from Full Steam Social Media, is a talent attraction and retention piece that we're hoping, like I said, that can stem the tide and can reverse the population decreases that we've seen here in Bay County and increase those. So, as you all know, Bay Future is responsible for economic development throughout Bay County and Bay City. We've been working diligently since the Executive Order 20 in March of 2020 went into effect to help small businesses that have been affected by COVID and COVID mandates, if you will. During that time, Bay County has seen support of over 500 businesses and $3 million as it relates to the dollars that we had received either through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, private funds, private foundations to administer to help support small businesses during that time. And we're asking to do that again. We're asking for the County Commission to use some of their American Rescue Plan Act funds to put together a small business grant funding program that Bay Future would administer that would help to support small businesses who continue to suffer and continue to kind of hemorrhage through the fifth spike now that we're dealing with as it relates to COVID-19. Like I said, we've had kind of a track record of success in having been able to do this, diligently focused on trying to help small businesses during this time. We want to continue to be able to do that and use the funds that allow, the American Rescue Plan Act funds, that allow for us to do that in concert, to implement that program and help those small businesses. You have a packet of information in front of you as to a draft plan that we had outlined. Happy to discuss and collaborate on what that can look like moving forward so that it can bring kind of the best it can and be the most beneficial, positive initiative to small businesses that it can be, and help to bring kind of those small businesses the relief that they desperately need. With that being said, I'd like to introduce Beth Rosaticki, who's the Small Business Development Center kind of leader with Saginaw Valley State University, who's going to talk about another component of the proposal that we're calling the small business support portion of the proposal. So Beth?
Good afternoon. So as Trevor alluded to, I'm the regional director for the Small Business Development Center hosted at Saginaw Valley State University. We represent 15 counties from the Z Bridge to the Mackinac Bridge and everything east. That said, we've seen a lot of small businesses come through our doors and a lot of new businesses wanting to launch in the last 2 years. I moved into this role in the middle of the pandemic, June of 2020, to be honest. We've helped small businesses pause, pivot, restart, recover, relaunch, and survive over the last 18 months. It's been a journey. The journey's not over. In the proposal that we've provided you with today there's two components. One is specific small business support to those existing businesses. So we have a variety of different services that we offer through no-cost consulting, training, and market research capabilities. The first is a comeback toolkit, which are focused on businesses that have been in operation for longer than usually 2 to 3 years. We look at business and customer implications, digital opportunities and technology reconfigurations, sustainable growth, financial forecasting and support, as well as workforce supply, virtual workforce, future workforce. How do we make sure that there's people within those companies to make sure that they can provide services and or products to our region. The second is the more one-on-one consulting. We would be co-hosted in Bay Future and the chamber offices and be able to provide a direct connection to help e-commerce solutions, cash flow analysis, market initiatives, human resource support, access to local and federal programs, as well as angel investors, Michigan Strategic Fund, venture capital, traditional banking, and other capital solutions. So how do we really do a wraparound and uplift around the businesses that aren't sure that they're going going to last through the end of the quarter or the end of the summer or the end of the year even. And so looking at how we can provide some fundamental trainings, webinars, workshops. The SBDC has been in existence for 41 years. So this isn't a new program. We liked to joke before the pandemic that we were one of the best kept secrets. Well, how do we now use these ARPA funding and ARPA dollars to basically infiltrate into our business communities to let them know that this resource is available for them. It's not just for their neighbor or for another business, but it's available for our Main Street communities. The second component is a little bit more intense. It's called the 90-day refinement program, and it really looks at legitimatizing those lifestyle businesses and how do we refine business practices in mature businesses that are at their early stages. We've ran through 4 cohorts throughout the last 2 years, primarily focused on Saginaw County. We've had some Bay County businesses involved, but it's a 12-week intensive program that looks at assessing strengths, weaknesses, and bottlenecks, resources around space, product development, networking, and training, lessons in navigating the e-commerce ecosystem, customer service, technical support, and troubleshooting, and last but not least, positioning to build business relationships that last. A lot of our businesses that are just starting out typically count on their own internal network, friends, family, et cetera. How do we help them expand to that? The last component that the SBDC, or one of the last components that the SBDC focuses on, is technology commercialization. Chris did a great job outlining some of the industry clusters where they're high-paying, high-wage earning jobs that are on the growth. We can help with patents, we can help technology commercialization for free. So these are services that are covered throughout our entire region. That said, our capacity limit to do this in a more intentful focus for Bay County would be covered through some of these ARPA dollars in this proposal. Someone, I think, said innovative or forward-thinking. This is time for forward-thinking investments. We know that we have a declining population, we have an aging workforce. What can we do that's going to be innovative, but in a way that's going to be the right fit for Bay County? It's not necessarily about what's happening in Chicago or what's happening in some major metropolitan areas, but what's the right fit for us. And this comprehensive proposal will ensure that we come out of COVID, whenever that may be, at a stronger space than when we entered in March of 2020. Small business is the backbone of this community, and it's always going to be the backbone of the community. But if we don't invest in that backbone now and into the future, it's going to be an interesting future. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Tarrant and Phil Ike to talk a little bit about that growth.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Commissioner Herrick, Commission. And I'd like to build a little bit on what Chris was talking about with all of the data. I don't need to throw out all the numbers. Chris is the expert, but in Bay County, I think we all realize, we have wonderful people here, but we still have a people problem. We're going to lose 1 in 5 people over the next 25 years. Per capita, we are 20% higher age 65 plus than the state average. And from a workforce perspective, much of what COVID did and the labor shortage is, I would call it the great resignation. We had an economist in to talk to us, and what we're seeing is stock market is up, home prices are up, so people have built equity, and a lot of people are not coming back to the workforce and are retiring. So we're seeing that at an even faster pace here in Bay County. It's terrifying to think that the rest of the region's workforce is going to decrease by 16%, according to Chris's numbers. At the same time, Bay County's workforce by 25%. And we know that this matters because 95% of businesses that are looking to relocate look at the labor market. Do they have enough workers in an area to support what they're looking to build? Without taking action now, the things that we heard today are going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So how do we change it? Well, if you have an engineer in Chicago who applies for a job at, we'll use the example of Michigan Sugar, doesn't get an interview, he probably doesn't ever look at Bay County again. But what if we can put something together that connects that engineer who's looking and open to relocating, that identifies him and others and can reach hundreds or even thousands of engineers, and actually connect them with those open positions here in Bay County and in the region. We have to be able to compete for talent, statewide and nationally. We need to keep our young people here by collaborating with our region's universities and colleges. And we can do that by marketing our community and all the opportunities that it offers. It isn't enough anymore to just post a job opening. I mean, he mentioned 3,300 open jobs in Bay County alone. That doesn't work. You know, it's not enough to just market ourselves and say, hey, we're a cool place. Those things have to come together. And so that's why Phil Ike and I from Full Steam Social Media sort of put together this piece of the package to first stop that bleeding of our outsourcing our talent, but then also growing our talent base. I'd like to turn things over to Phil to explain a little bit more about how this works.
Hello, everybody. To counter the effects of COVID-19 occurring alongside our aging and declining population, Bay County needs a significant level of outreach and communication. Today, information and attention are as important a resource as money because they drive customers to our small businesses, help employers find employees and employees find work, and give our citizens all the reasons why they should stay here and be active and engaged with their community, and show all those living outside the region that we are a destination to live, work, and play. We can accomplish these tasks by following and improving upon models of already successful talent attraction and retention platforms like HelloWestMichigan.com and UncommonCharacter.com of St. Joseph, Missouri. We would create a high-level marketing and placemaking platform, a one-stop portal into all things Bay County. After an initial engagement, design, and creation phase, a website and social media channels would launch with employment opportunities, relocation and community information, and marketing content. We would amplify the best Bay County has to offer while also making it easy for people to find information about our community and engage with it. This proposal also includes world-class branding and alongside social media, the use of email marketing, text-based marketing, podcasting, print marketing, and more. This would give our small businesses and our county as a whole exposure to a potentially huge audience they couldn't otherwise afford. Provide citizens with information about their community that is currently difficult to find, and send non-citizens a message that they should be here too. This effort would be built on the stories of the people of Bay County. And as an example, the story-based marketing approach has already been implemented in the city of Saginaw, with the stories there being seen over 15 million times in just a year and a half. Here in Bay City, in just 25 episodes, the Hey Bay City podcast has been downloaded over 10,000 times and continues to be downloaded an average of 250 times each week, even without new episodes being published. This story-based approach is a unique one, and one that is born right here in Bay County and has already been tested across the country. I'm confident that this proposal is an opportunity for Bay County to lead the region, state, and nation in place-focused marketing that is both human and effective. Placemaking is creating physical and social changes to our cities that encourage interaction, connection, and economic development. Bay City's Feet on the Street is a prime example of how simple, community-led placemaking efforts can be a critical element in addressing the economic effects of COVID-19. Not only did it provide opportunities for restaurants to expand and serve more customers, but it also attracted attention to the quality of life Bay County has to offer. On a Friday night this past summer, I was riding a bike dressed up like Waldo, giving out I Love Bay City decals to people eating out on the street. I was stopped by a group of people sitting at a table in front of Mulligan's, and as I was giving them stickers, I asked them where they were from. We're all from the UP, they said. They had never been to Bay City before, deciding to drive down to check it out on a whim. They saw people in the streets, busy restaurants, music, and a strange fellow having fun dressed up like Waldo handing out free stuff. This is just the coolest city, they said. We are coming back. Connections like that are what creates people who will visit Bay County over and over and over again as tourists, customers, and those looking for a new home. It creates a sense of ownership in our own citizens, giving them the ability to craft and change their cities, showing them that they are part of a community able and willing to adapt to their needs and desires. Those connections are the power of placemaking. Feet on the Street was successful, but we can do even more. This platform will continue to build upon that success by leading similar efforts that would both attract attention as well as improve the economic potential of our communities, such as public art initiatives, crowd-funded projects, using vacant storefronts as pop-up shops in their windows for advertisements, and more. With all this being said, we believe that this proposal is an investment that, in all of its parts, not only addresses the COVID-related effects on our community, but sets it up to grow and develop well into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from anyone? Wow, that's great.
That's a lot of stuff.
So you all have the proposal in front of you, except I didn't get one, but that's okay. Me and Deanne didn't get one. But, so this, we're not going to do anything with this right now anyways, but my question would be, would you like these guys to come back next week? Because I think we have to have a board meeting next week, right? Yes. And answer any questions you might develop over the next week. Would that be a good idea? Commissioner Fox, you say yes?
I say yes.
Okay.
I need to noodle this a little
Okay,
bit.
so I guess that's where we're at, where if you guys come back next week, next Tuesday, and so we have a meeting, then anybody that develops any questions, or Commissioner Coonan?
Do we have a schedule of other folks who are applying for these dollars to come before us?
Not, I do not know, not that I know.
Well, we have something, I don't know that it's changed. We have a couple more presented.
In a couple weeks?
Well, I would think that we would want to hear everybody before we, give everybody an equal shot to give us their proposal. Kristen, you're we've got some other proposals, don't we?
We have many proposals, yep, and we have 2 scheduled for next month, and at this point, at your direction, we can schedule as many proposals as you want, but it's been a month or 2 since I've given you all of the proposals, so however you would like to do that.
So you guys said you'd like him to come back next week to answer questions on this proposal specifically. So, is that correct?
I would, yes. I don't know about anybody else, but.
Casey said she would also.
Okay.
So, and Vaughn said yes. So, is that okay with everybody? Yes?
But that's fine, I don't have a problem with it, but I'd like to, maybe we all should meet sometime, go through those proposals and let you know who we want to hear from, so that everybody gets a fair shot at, I know there were some proposals dealing with mental health, dealing with health care and other things like that we should evaluate as well.
It's fine. Yep. We can do it. So you guys come back next week, and well, if there's any questions about what you're trying to do, I know it's a little different than what other people are asking, I think. So we'd be happy to have you back next Tuesday after we have a personnel meeting first and then a regular board meeting, so it won't be too long. Yes, sir. Mr. Krieger.
So with everything they just gave in front of us, I guess the bottom line is, how much are they asking for out of the ARPA funds?
I think that's what we're going to find. That's the bottom line. I agree. That is the bottom line. So we'll get, you can look at it and see if there's, and I don't have that in front of me, so if there's numbers in there, we can just see if it's, yes, ma'am.
The proposal, all 3 components of that proposal is a total ask of $2 million. So each proposal in your packet has a separate dollar figure, all adding up to $2 million.
And I believe each portion is broken down,
Each portion is broken down.
so that you can see
Okay.
where the investments are supposed to go and how it's supposed to get spent.
Okay? So next week, I need a motion to receive this.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Item C, City of Bay City application for obsolete property rehabilitation exemption district. Motion to receive is in order.
So moved.
Support?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So that was for Platinum Bay Properties and LRC Commercial. Item D, the Personnel Director listing of authorized department heads. Motion to receive.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. None? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up are the reports and resolutions of committees. Commissioner Fox, this is yours.
All right, resolution number 2022-1, the agreement with Brown & Brown as Bay County's insurance agent for workman's comp and excess liability insurance coverage.
So moved. Oh, you move that, right?
Yes.
You move it, I'll support it.
Okay. I didn't think I was moving it yet, but okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, resolution number 2022-2, Gypsy Mouth aerial spraying contract with Kinnikin. I move this resolution.
Support?
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2022-03, the Civic Arena roof replacement agreement. I move that resolution.
Support?
Discussion. Commissioner Kunis?
Kristen, I think we talked about this before. I think this is just a formality, but the dollars that are going to be required to fix that roof, is any of that coming from ARPA dollars that we,
No.
No.
This is all general fund dollars.
Okay.
Those are
Could it be, could ARPA dollars be used?
I think it's harder on the facility, the actual, but we'd have to look.
How much, Jan, how many dollars have we expended out of, say, the 10 million for this year for lost revenue? So I don't even know how much we got to work with right now.
5.2 million
We
was our
got
calculation, but the new rule that came through has a little stipulation in there changing the use of that calculator, so I'll have to look at that.
So you've got about 5 million left for this particular year, get another 10 million. Okay, I was just wondering what dollars, if that were some of those lost revenue dollars that we're going to use for recapitalization, because we can't do that, or for, maintaining facilities.
Right, using the lost revenue,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So we should probably have a discussion on all that too someday. Maybe, I don't know, it's probably got to be done in an open, it can't be done in closed session, can it?
We cannot go into closed session for that
Well,
discussion.
maybe we ought to all know what we're dealing with in regards to total revenue, lost revenue, the various projects, the proposals, so we all can kind of have an idea on what we support.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Item number 2022-04, the MSU extension agreement for the calendar year 2022. I move this resolution. Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 2022-05, the MD Eagle grant application for scrap tire cleanup. I move this resolution.
Support?
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 2022-06, the 2022-2023 Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency Veteran Service Grant. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 2022-07, 2022 Adoption Events for the Animal Services. I move this resolution. Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
2022-08, the General Fund Payables. I move that resolution.
Support?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
2022-09, the agreement for the disaster recovery services. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
2022-10, the contract agreements with the electronic recording service providers. I move this resolution.
Support. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
2022-11, the redaction services and customer support agreement. I move this resolution.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Item 12, receive the analysis of the general fund equity for 2021.
This a motion to receive?
Motion to receive. I move that.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and motion to receive the update, the Executive Director 2007-11.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner Fox. We're going to, personnel is nothing today, it'll be next week. And from the Board of Commissioners, Mr. Begic.
Yes, we have a employment status report to receive, motion to receive that.
Support.
Is that received? You approve it. We don't receive it, we just approve it.
Approve it, okay.
Okay. We
Support.
got support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the reports of the county executive.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. It's been a very informative meeting. I think a lot of important discussion and input here today. To Commissioner Coonan's point and others, I still continue to be approached about ARPA funding, and so I'll submit that to all of you. I know we have a request, and I think they'd like to appear before the board to make their case for the firefighter museum, which would be relocated from Bangor Township down to downtown Bay City at a site there. And then also, what else is, I think, the firefighter museum, and well, we have several other requests. And oh yeah, Santa Claus House with Mary Ida Doan. Thank you, Amber. Mary Ida is an icon in the community, and we all remember Nate Doan, Mr. Santa Claus from Bay County, and they also have been impacted by COVID and the challenge of fundraising to keep that going. So I know that at some point, the Santa Claus House people would like to also approach the board to see what help they might be able to secure. So thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Is there any unfinished business? No. Commissioner Coonan? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Krieger.
Just under unfinished business, do we have an update, where are we at with veterans?
Pardon me?
Building our veterans?
Veterans Foundation.
I don't have a contract drafted yet. I don't have a number from the board. I know that $250,000 was suggested, but I have not completed that or Boys and Girls Club yet. Our email system going down and our system going down kind of put a little bit of a kink in.
So have we had it? Did we get everything we need from Mr. Markstrom?
I got 2 emails from Mr. Markstrom regarding different things that were necessary in order to complete construction for different phases of the construction. So money could be used toward any of those things that the board so decided it wanted to use it for.
I didn't hear the last part you said, Amber.
I said he did break down how much it was going to cost to complete construction. So, and he did break that down in terms of different areas of construction that the money could be used for. Whatever one of those things the board decided it wanted to direct it to.
So do we need to bring up another resolution then?
I think the way that it was last referred was it was referred back to Corp Counsel and Administration, and when I had a contract completed, I would forward it to the board, and at that point in time, after the board received it, it would be brought back up as a referred motion, so it would be back as the original motion.
So I believe we have a scheduled full board after Personnel and Human Services, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
We have another full board
after the next meeting next week.
So is it possible we can have everything in line to be able to bring this to an end?
I can try my very best.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on the unfinished business? New business, Commissioner Coonan.
Thank you. There's been some debate or discussion on this for several months, and we've heard today various proposals on businesses that are hurting, and there's a number of businesses within the service industry. And instead of picking and choosing who gets help and who don't get help, this particular proposal would provide relief for every business that has a food license. And it would be restaurants, bars, it would be nonprofits, it would be churches. All those folks over the last 2 years have paid their licenses, yet operated either with everything being shut down or takeout only or 25% or 50%. So to me, it would be a way to show all those businesses that there's something that we can do for everybody. Everybody gets something. And those licenses go from $300, $400, $500, $600, $700. I know. And you know, I've got a business, but it doesn't pertain to me. I got my check in my pocket. I don't need it. But listening to all the folks that were here and gave proposals, there's a lot of businesses that do need it. So this is in no way benefits me. But it would benefit everybody, because I know, you know, when I get it, they send me a bill on January, whenever, and it's $450. Oh, shit. You know, this way, we'll send them a letter saying, you know, because of what you've endured the last 2 years, we're going to take care of it for you. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people out. And I think it's the least that we can do to show these folks that we understand what they've gone through, and we want to do something that we can to help them. So, and those dollars are coming out of general fund because of the, I guess it would be, you know, if you have 300 and some licenses, and the reporting for ARPA would be very time-consuming. Instead of going through ARPA, which it does qualify for, we were going to take it from the general fund and let those businesses know that we're behind them as well, all of those businesses within that service industry.
Commissioner Krieger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with this.
Support.
Jan.
Just a note that we can only waive the local share, not the state share.
Here's my proposal, Jan. Okay? If it's $350, you tell the business, you don't have to pay anything. We're going to send whatever portion of that $350 goes to the state. We're going to send that to them, whether we cut it in one lump sum or all 300 businesses pay $350 and 25 of that goes to the state. So we understand how that works. We're going to give them relief on it all. And then we're going to send to the state what is due the state. Okay? That's how, I want to keep it as simple as possible.
Okay.
Do we have do we have a list of these places, or no, or?
Yeah.
We do.
What's the cost to the county?
$150,000.
It was $145,000 was the local share. I'm not sure of the state. I'd have to get that from the health department. The health department has a list of all of them that they
Commissioner
Actually, since this is a resolution to receive, can there be a vote motion?
This, on the agenda, is a resolution to receive. I believe that you would have to have a vote if you're going to take up a new matter at the beginning of the meeting of 2/3 of the commissioners to accept a new matter onto the agenda. This is to receive.
Well, where is that?
I have a separate question. If this is going to be coming out of the general fund, a concern that I don't know the answer to, that I would like to look up. If you're waiving a fee to certain entities, I question if it's coming out of the general fund as opposed to out of ARPA funds, if it is a lawful use of general fund dollars. We have a policy in place, the board does, that states that we can't waive fees, and even for nonprofits, we only agree to waive 50% of those fees. So I guess I run into the same question of, is this considered a donation if we're waiving a fee to a for-profit business, and whether or not that would be a lawful use of general fund dollars as opposed to ARPA dollars. I think you could obviously very clearly make an argument that it would be an appropriate use of ARPA fund dollars.
Well, we can do that then, too.
But I just don't know which funds that would be pulled from.
Commissioner Krieger?
So maybe I can make this a little simpler. I'll move to receive the discussion on the waiver. And then what I would hope is, again, next week when we have a full board, that would be put on the agenda, and that would give Amber enough time to determine whether or not we take it from general or we go through the rigors of doing ARPA funds. But either way, we should be able to bring this to a head by next week.
Commissioner Fox?
Yeah, I have a question. So I can certainly appreciate our desire to help small business, and we have other small businesses that were completely shut down. We have the motels, what comes to mind right away, motels, gyms, movie theaters. So we're singling out one particular industry. But we have multiple industries that operate in Bay County that were also severely affected. So I'm struggling to reconcile that personally.
Commissioner Krieger?
Thank you. So we just listened to Bay Future come in and talk about them wanting $2 million from us, or $20 million, or whatever the number was, and they will address that section of the industry that's been affected, I believe. So it isn't that we're not addressing them, it's just that in the food service industry for the last 2 years, they've been, like everyone else, greatly affected. And I just think it's time for us to show these businesses that there's concern by the board to lend a helping hand, so.
Do we know that the city hasn't waived anything for these people? I don't know. Yes, Commissioner.
First of all, hotels, or if they had some sort of a fee they had to pay, we should provide it to them. If they didn't, they're not out anything. These businesses in the service industry were paying for licenses they weren't able to use. So it's only the right thing to do is to let them know that we care about them. We understand over the last couple of years that industry has been hit hardest, that we want to do something for them. Can we do something for everybody? I don't know, but you got a whole lump sum of folks here, 300 and some folks, that we can do something for. Now, are we going to look at the ARPA dollars and say we've got 15 million left? Well, are we going to hit everybody? Are we going to take every business, or are we just going to pick and choose who comes in here and wants money for whatever reason? There's going to be other people that aren't going to be represented, that aren't going to get anything. Should we just say, well, we can't do that, we're not going to do that, let's just send the money back? You know, you can't help everybody, I guess. If we could, let's just figure out how many people are out there, divide the money, and give them all a check.
I think that's part of the thing that Bay Futures said was for the small business, the grants, you know, where they're looking for, those are the people they're looking for, is the people that were in trouble they're trying to help. And like I said, I know the city has a program for small business too. And so I don't know at this time what the overlap is. You know, I mean, I don't know, and I don't know if they I don't even know if they gave money, if they did the same thing that you're proposing to the food service industry. I don't know that, but I know they talked about it. That part I do know.
They don't have a food service. They got a license. They did not, because I sent them a check already. Where was I going with that? No, I just think, hey, you know, we got something here that's pretty easy. You help people, and I don't know who else has been hurt, you know. I know that industry's been hurt because that's all you see on TV. They're looking to, you know, you're reading the Detroit paper, those businesses are dropping like flies. So can we do something? We should do something. It's only the right thing to do. They paid for something they weren't able to use. And we can make that decision. Those businesses are in all of our districts. And is it going to provide them to be successful in the future? No, it doesn't guarantee that, but it shows that we care. And that's our role, is to care about people in our district, care about the businesses that have been affected by this. And I don't know why, if a commissioner brought a resolution up, it could not be adopted today. I just don't remember that ever. Amber, you said something about the front of the agenda has got something. I don't see anything on here that we have to. The commissioner was always able to bring something up at any time. And if it was brought, and this wasn't even brought up, it's on the agenda for discussion. We can discuss it, move it, support it, vote on it, and get them the money.
Sure, and the question was asked whether or not if it was brought on the agenda as a motion to receive, to discuss as opposed to a motion to vote on, whether or not it was allowed. Under Article 10, Section 4 of the board rules regarding agenda, it does state that anytime something new is brought up on the agenda that wasn't submitted in that form by the designated deadline, you are required, if approved by a majority of the elected commissioners present and voting, if you have that number of votes to bring it up for a vote, then you can do that. But you would have to have a vote to consider it for something other than what was brought up on the agenda. So the motion would have to be, I move that we allow a new motion to consider a vote on this issue. You vote on that motion, then you can vote on the second motion. But you've got to throw another motion in there that has a vote of at least 4 members.
So I could bring a motion forward that we take this particular item and have it go into the format where we can move and support it, and what's the verbiage we would use?
Sure, you would have to bring a motion to consider this motion for a formal vote.
To bring that motion forward.
And you would need 4 votes in order to consider it for a formal vote today, as opposed to just receiving it.
Okay. Moved and supported.
And for me, I would say that I like to think about stuff for a little bit. You know, we just found out what it would cost. We had no idea what the price was on it today, and I think we have no information about what the city's doing. You know, for their people. There's just a little bit out there yet for me.
Let me ask you this: is the city giving any money to Bay Futures?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, good. Do you see anybody from Bay Future? I don't either. Okay. Mr. Barsha.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just say I'd be inclined to support Commissioner Coonan's view on this. You know, I received a lot of calls, especially from Christian schools and others that have food service, even just serving pizza. And they were shut down, and they were very resentful of the fact they had to pay the health department to come out, and even though their operations weren't in service, they still had to pay that. I think it'd be a small amount of money out of the general fund. It would make it much easier to send that signal that we care about every business. I had the pleasure of speaking to the Bay City Lions last Wednesday, and Commissioner Begic was there, and I mentioned $164 million of restaurant revitalization aid came into Bay County. However, and I don't mean to be in any way casting aspersions on any group, but women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and veteran-owned businesses qualified, but white male-owned businesses didn't get anything of the federal money. So there is some resentment out there, and I think if we took an approach that everybody got a little bit of relief, it would be symbolic, I think, of the county showing our concern for each and every small business and food service provider in the county. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but of course it's up to the board. So,
is this a food service like does rallies? Do they qualify? I don't know. Is that part of this? This rally?
I'm sure they've got a license.
I mean, so if it's a corporate entity, they would qualify.
Now we can pick and choose and be here for the rest.
Well, I just wondered. I don't know what. That's what I mean. I don't know. That's my question. I don't know who is. I mean, you say it's, and I don't. And it's fine that I know what you. I understand what you're saying, but I don't know the extent of it. That's my problem with it.
Right. I don't either. I personally don't see we're waiting a week. is a problem. We're back to making decisions on the same day we hear something, and I personally think we need a process. I've been kind of adamant about that, to review all of this. We don't want it to become projects. We want it to be part of an overall plan, or that was my understanding. So I don't see the necessity of today.
Commissioner Begic.
So I don't know if it's allowed to refer to administration to bring back next week, since it's not a formal resolution yet, which we haven't voted on, so. I guess
There is a motion.
Yeah.
There is a motion.
There's a motion to, yeah.
Yep.
So I would make the motion to refer to administration to bring back next week. And I think that supersedes the original motion.
And I would support that, and that way we have numbers and we know who it all affects, we know what the city, we've got all the missing links, and we can make an informed decision next week.
Okay. Any more discussion on that? We got to do, we're take the roll.
Fox,
This is to refer.
Yes.
Krieger,
No.
Begic,
Yes.
Coonan,
No.
Radke,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Herrick.
Yes. Motion to refer.
Yes, 2 no.
On we go. Is there any miscellaneous? Commissioner Krieger.
Thank you. I see others here. If I could get you, can you give us kind of an update where we're at with Viva?
Where we're at, what?
Viva?
That's not Heather. I'm like,
No, I'm sorry.
I'm like, I don't think I'm the one to answer that
You could be a lookalike.
question. I got a doppelganger.
Vindicating
Did he?
to some of my comments.
If possible, next week, if we could get an update of where we're at with our Viva. Okay, thank you.
Any announcements?
Nothing today.
Is this the first time ever? Commissioner Johnson.
I'm going to do this until we get to the actual day. So, Garbers Athletic Association is holding their annual fundraiser dinner, a night at the races. Fingers crossed it will actually happen. March 5th, 2022 at the Grand. Tickets are $50 each, with that as dinner, open bar, and such. There are still opportunities for you to be able to sponsor in the event, or even get your name in the program. So there's different little blocks that you can kind of put in there. You can sponsor part of the race, you can sponsor a horse, you can name the horse that they're doing in the event, and so a variety of different ways that you can get involved if anybody wants to, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Coonan.
I was thinking a little bit, because there's a lot of discussion going on, and what Commissioner Fox said, this isn't part of ARPA. This is coming from the general fund, so this has nothing to do with the overall plan for the $5 million that we got for this year to spend. This was coming from general fund dollars to help businesses in your district and my district and all those businesses that have been hurting. It would be nice that they would get, as Jim said, a little bit of recognition that we do understand what they've been through. So it's nothing to do with ARPA. You can't just say we're putting that all together for a plan because it's coming from the general fund.
Commissioner Begic.
I did think of something. So St. Patrick's Day is on. I did talk to Jan Rao, so we generally get a page in the program. I don't know if we need a motion on that or just to buy a page and an ad in the book this year.
We usually,
This is at your own expense.
Yeah. We put our own money in. Yes.
Just one.
So no fun.
He's going to rescind that.
okay. The announcer, let's see, appointments. In March, we got the Bay Air Neck Behavioral Health Authority, three-year terms. In June, we got the Library Board, 1 5-year term. October, Land Bank Authority, that's 3-year term. And the Department of Health and Human Services Board of Directors, 1 3-year term. December, Veterans Affairs Committee, 1 4-year term, and also the Department on Aging Advisory Committee, 4 2-year terms in Districts 2, 4, 6, and at large. Is there any need for a closed session, ma'am?
There is not, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That's it.
I move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll support him.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.